Welcome to Beyond the Blue with Coldwell Banker Jamaica Realty. Listen, this is your one-stop shop for all things real estate. I'm so excited to dive in and learn some things myself from the very best in the business. We're going to have some fun, so sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So my guest today is Andrew Issa.
Thank you for having me.
Congrats on 25 years in real estate.
Yes, some wonderful memories, a tough journey, but a successful journey, and we stayed the course. And, we're one of the most dominant real estate companies in Jamaica now.
So what I love about this is that we'll see the signs and we'll see the CB, but we really get to see the behind the scenes and what makes it tick, what makes it go. You didn't just jump up and have all of this success. So I want to get a little personal with you. I want to get to know you.
Sure.
So let's do a little this and that. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. So are you a coffee guy or a tea guy? What do you have in your cup?
Definitely coffee, definitely Blue Mountain coffee, freshly roasted beans, every morning I have my cup of coffee.
What else does your morning routine look like?
I spend, quiet time with the Lord, and then I do a little exercising, and I love my gardening. So I'm up pretty much by 5:30, even though it's dark this time of year. I go out and I love my flowers, my vegetables. I have some chickens, I have some bees. So, my passion has always been farming.
I love that. So you're a part of the 5 a.m. club. So guys, I've been trying to get out to the 5 a.m. club business, and I'm like, no money can be successful, but here we are. So we're going to just have to wake up early and take care of the bees and do the farming. All right. City condo or country home?
100% country home.
Really?
Yeah, I like the fresh air, I like the mountains, I like the quiet, I like nature.
I love that. Okay, all right. Looking at a fixer-upper as what you're more passionate about, or just move-in ready?
I'm looking at the opportunity.
Okay.
And every property provides an opportunity. It's to try and find the best use for it.
Yeah.
And so, truthfully, every property excites me.
Oh, I love that. So you can see like a dilapidated pop-down ends, and you're just like, I can see the vision in this home.
Yeah.
And you can convince me to buy it.
Yes, so being in the business so long, I can see down the road. So sometimes I can see where, a community is expanding or a town, and 2 years, 5 years ahead, I can actually picture and see it coming into fruition. So, that's one of the little talents I have.
I think that's an innate gift. That's amazing. So Andrew, risk sounds exciting until you're the one betting your future on it. What does this mean to you?
Sure, your blood pressure can go up and down depending on the risk, but once it's a calculated risk, then obviously you lower the unforeseens, and therefore you have an opportunity to pursue your dream. And I think that's where you have to manage your risk in any situation. So a lot of the time, first-time home buyers will come to us and we will look at their entire portfolio and determine what is their appetite for the risk. And even young entrepreneurs who have been renting their first office space,
right,
and they want to go out and now buy one. We have to, sort of have a look at their financials and determine what price range property can they really afford to buy. And therefore, we manage the risk in all our clients.
I have a question for you. So I don't know if risk is something that you think people are born with, or it's an innate thing that is fired up inside them, that kind of personality. Everybody I read about from the CEOs of Disney, they were always little troublemakers. They always had this thing about them where they were a little rebellious. When was your first memory as a child of you taking risk, or where did that ever come from to begin with, you think?
It's funny because I was really a dreamer growing up, and it was all about, looking at opportunities that you never ever thought you'd ever accomplish in life. But after, you really thought about it and you got more mature and you got more experience, you got your education, you realize that, you should go after your dreams. And of course, there's risk involved there, but just everything in life, they say even getting out of bed, there's a risk. So I think the fear is what you have to get over. And therefore, there are so many different things that I look back on my life, traveling, going places where I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But, sometimes the good Lord saw you through it. So I try to get people to understand the excitement and the opportunities that you get when you take risk.
I love that. You see more of God and the world, and brilliant. I want to get to know you. What was 10-year-old Andrew like?
I was out there on my bicycle going up and
Bicycle.
down.
So you've been riding from that
I used to be part of the football team at Peter and Paul. I was always an outdoor kid, always adventurous. From then I had a little farm. I had chickens, and I would sell the chickens. And
No
I'd
way.
grow
Hold on. When you were younger?
Yeah.
So we had the little chickens, and you would wake up in the morning? Wow.
So, that entrepreneurial spirit inside of me, just started to blossom, and I just kept growing,
Was there ever a time that you didn't know what was going to happen with life, or you kind of always had direction? Like, did you ever come to a plateau where you're like, what next?
Well, I grew up in the hotels,
okay.
and I always had a passion one day to work in hotels. So, I'm more of a service-oriented person. So I like people to appreciate the service I offer. So that's really, was my dream, to end up owning a hotel. I thought I would end up at House of Issa in a nice desk, a nice office. And then my father shattered all my dreams by saying, there's no space for you down at House of Issa. You have to go out there and find it on your own. So
How old were you?
I just soon after graduated from college. And so that shattered my dreams. So I came back and I was working at the Wyndham, and then I went.
What were you doing at the Wyndham?
I was assistant food and beverage manager. That's when it was a lot of younger folks wouldn't realize that's when it was painted pink. And then
okay, so food and beverage.
Yeah, because I was pursuing the passion for hotels.
Okay.
My career in hotels, and then I left that and I went into making liquor. Started a company manufacturing vodka, rum, and Gina had a great partner, and we did very well. And then we sold that company, and then I went into making bamboo furniture because I always was very passionate about.
What am I doing with my life?
I was very passionate about making things 100% Jamaican. I just wanted to boost Jamaican manufacturing sector, and that's what I did. And then I left that and I came into real estate.
So Andrew, we've gotten to know you a little bit with your chickens and your bike riding, and you're going off on beaten track. Coldwell Banker. Let's get into it.
Sure.
The uncertainties, where did that start? Let's get into the beginnings.
Well, I started the company with my father-in-law, and it was a mom and pop. And I realized if I really wanted to stay in real estate, I had to get a franchise. So I went out and, the Coldwell Banker brand always seemed to attract me, even when I was at college and I saw the signs. I don't know what the connection was then, but here I am with the brand now for over 25 years. And in the beginning, we started in a little office at Spanish Court when it was a plaza before it became a hotel, maybe 200 square feet. I didn't even have a secretary. I was using my grandfather's secretary at the time. And
our grandpa's secretary.
And I had two agents. And, I decided, I remember when the boxes arrived, and there were like 10 big boxes with all the policies and manuals. And I kept looking for the box that said how to run a profitable real estate company. And I didn't see it. So I called the guy and I said, Jim, I don't see the box about how to run a profitable real estate company. He said, well, you got to figure that out on yourself. Every territory is different. So I kind of hung up the phone and said, what have I gotten myself into? But early on, I decided, I'm going to be a support broker. I'm not going to be a competing broker. I had the philosophy, the better my agents do, is the better I do.
Oh, that's beautiful. So then they have full support on that end. So I'm just thinking, you went from earlier just seeing a sign and just taking that into your future. 25 years later, what does that feel like?
It's an overwhelming feeling of accomplishment. I'm humbled. I mean, in the beginning, it took us a while to get going, and then it just exploded. And, it was funny because I would say to myself, I couldn't imagine doing the amount of business I did in the early years. If you told me to write a business plan, I would have been way off.
Really?
We got so much support from, all the Jamaicans overseas and the Jamaicans here who wanted to embrace the brand, embrace our service, embrace what we offered. Yeah. So, it was really heartwarming to see that you were offering a service that people really
People
appreciated.
wanted it, yeah, and appreciated.
You know, when I got the franchise in the first couple of months, they kept calling me. I said, haven't you sold anything? Haven't you sold anything?
Oh no! Oh no!
And I said, soon.
Did you? Did you?
Soon.
Oh, you didn't.
We've done one or two small little rentals, and I'm saying, what have I done? Is this thing really going to happen?
Right.
And then finally we started to do one or two sales. But
give me the timeline from, oh my goodness, what do we do here? We're not
it
getting
was
any.
it was the first rough 6 months, 6 to 8 months of the business.
Okay.
And then, you know, we've been through crises. We've been through COVID. We went through the collapse of 08, 09.
That's right.
So, you know, again, it's about being prudent with your savings, having enough money for uncertainties.
Right.
So again, that's when it comes back to people taking out mortgages to make sure they have enough put aside in case, you know, something unseen happens.
Okay, love that. I'm taking notes in my mind. So I've been reading these books, and they talk about the tipping point that makes you stand out from. You have competition. What would you say are maybe 2 or 3 things that allow you to stand out above the rest, or why are people intrigued to work with Coldwell Banker?
I think trust is a big thing.
Trust,
I think integrity.
Yeah.
I never waver from how we do business. We always put the client's interest first. And I think that's important. We're not going to get all the business. So at the end of the day, you know, your business model is what you have to stay true to and believe in it, and make sure that you provide your agents with the tools and the support they need to showcase what you stand for, that vision of being able to provide a very professional real estate service in Jamaica.
So financial risk versus personal risk. Get into that for me.
Well, you know, again, anything that I put my name to, I hold myself accountable to repay it. So if it's a financial risk that the company takes, it's really me taking it, because it's my name on the line. I know they have what's called limited liability, but the truth of the matter is I feel obligated that whatever I sign on to, at the end of the day, it's me that has to end up making sure the loan is repaid. But again, risk is something that you can manage. It's like anything in life. You start a job, you don't have a clue what you're doing there, but you get to understand the culture of the company. You like it.
Yeah.
You stay there. You get promoted. It's the same thing when taking out a loan. You get to understand the risk that's involved. That every month you got to put aside your mortgage payment first before you do any other spending.
What I'm hearing is that you have personal integrity no matter what, and so you almost put that there as your anchorage. So no matter what you're dealing with, it's back to Andrew. You know, whether it's, you know.
Yes, that's the motto I really have lived my life by. And at the end of the day, you know, I wish everybody well. I wish everybody success. And that's how I wake up every morning.
I love that. So did you have any moments where you felt it was safer walking away? You were single at the time, I'm asking.
No, I was married. I had a couple kids. And you know, there was a lot of responsibility there. I couldn't walk away. First of all, the reason I
couldn't go back to daddy like the prodigal son and said, "How's that? It's a do."
No. So I couldn't walk away because Coldwell Banker entrusted me with the franchise, and I owed it to them, but I owed it to myself to prove that I could be a success. And you know, thinking back about it, I hit the pavement every night. I went out there to every little restaurant, club to get business. I just
walk me through that. So you jump in the car or the bike.
Yeah, well, I knew where like the business community was, hanging out at different restaurants and different lounges, and I'd go there with my little cards, and I would sit down, and I had to break through that barrier of fear, because I had a personality where I was more intrusive to myself. I didn't socialize that much, and I didn't know any of the bigwigs in the financial sector.
Can we pretend? Do you remember what you did? So I'm a bigwig. And you walk into the lounge and I'm having my beer.
Well, the first thing I would always do is I'd make sure I'd get a soda water with lime, so everybody thought I was drinking a alcoholic drink, because I needed to maintain that I was keep sober. You know, so I'd just go up and I would talk to them, and I would always mention the
Pretend to do it though, Andrew.
I'm Andrew Issa. I just got the franchise from Coldwell Banker, and I just wanted to reach out to you and just get to know what have your experiences been in the real estate business. You know, could you mentor me, give me some advice, and then, you know, once you build that relationship, I'd follow it up with a call, and get to know the person, and eventually they would start giving me some leads.
You're so likable. I can't imagine it ever went wrong.
Well, some
They
people
probably just thought you were so charming.
Some people did have their agent of choice, and I respected that. And at the end of the day, you can't, you just have to go with those people that want to help you and give you a start in life.
So I remember in prep school, there was a saying, I don't know if you know it, heights by great men reach and kept were not attained by sudden flight. But they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards through the night. I wish I could have that written for you, because that's all I'm hearing.
Well, I must have been dreaming outside the window when that was said. But, again, we only have one life to live. We have a limited time here. You want to make the best of it. And that's why I'm always trying to encourage my team, even the support staff that we hire. I encourage them. I say, I don't want you to stay here forever. I want you to move on to greater things. This is just a stepping stone. And with the agents, I said, I want you to become the top producer. And the enjoyment I get is when I see them buying a car, buying an apartment, sending their kids to the best school. And I see the effort from them, the energy from them. And the whole vibe at Coldwell Banker is about energy.
I love that. Let's talk about the reality of stress, the long hours that it must have taken, fear of fatigue and failure. Let me hear the side that is not as fun.
Fear can drive to burnout, and obviously hitting the night scene every night to try to get business. It was tiring. It was but you just had that drive in you to want to succeed, and you knew it was going to take time. I had put a time frame of 3 years to try and become a dominant brokerage.
So guys, everybody have that time limit in your mind. Set your goals. See something when you're younger and believe it. You like a logo. Would you consider yourself an optimist?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
And that's important. Yeah. So if I say the world is coming to an end tomorrow, nobody cares about the market, the aliens are coming for the company.
I don't know what tomorrow brings, so you have to live for today, So find a job that you love.
Andrew, risk and vision only go so far without the right funding.
That's very true. And with risk, you need proper funding. And coming up next, we have 2 mortgage brokers from Scotiabank that will be sharing their insights on that and showing you how to build wealth through real estate. So
you mean me without the funding? You think these Scotia agents can help me, kind of direct me? So it's not all hope is lost without...
It's exciting. It's exciting to fill out your first mortgage application and from that purchasing your first home. So that's what we're going to dive into in the next episode.
That. So closing out our Getting to Know You segment, episode 1, I'm so excited. Can you imagine episode 25? So 25 years in the business, a young person, passionate like you are, ready to go fix the signs on the other end of the country, ready to walk into the bars to talk to some CEOs and professionals who, like you, has a vision. What would you like to leave them with today? You can speak to Cameron and let them know.
I think it's important to set your goal. You need to have a yearly goal and a passion to be able to accomplish whatever it is you want every month, and get excited about it. Get excited about life. Don't look at all the negatives, because that will tear you down. That will just give you more excuses that why you weren't successful. I said it's easy to find an excuse. Let's forget about that. Let's just make it happen. So look down the road and stay true to yourself.
Andrew, it was a complete pleasure. I learned so much. I know I'm just here interviewing you, and the audience, I'm sure, will get so much value from this talk. And guys, there you have it with Beyond the Blue from Coldwell Banker Jamaica Realty. This is episode 1, so stay tuned because we have a long road ahead.
It's my pleasure to welcome Peter Mohan and Ainsworth Leach from Scotiabank. We're going to dive into mortgage application today, as well as risk management and building wealth through mortgages. So thank you. You would like to give us a brief introduction on yourselves?
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Peter Mohan, the manager for Scotiabank, Constant Spring Financial Center. Been in banking, let's say 3 decades going. And so, I have a passion for what I do. I love to help clients realize their dreams. And so, this is an ideal opportunity for me to come and share with persons how to, make this a reality.
And Ainsworth?
Well, my name is Ainsworth Leach. I'm the branch manager for Scotiabank New Kingston branch. I've been in the bank for approximately 3 decades, just like Peter, and I would have assisted a number of clients to achieve their financial goals, and I would love to continue that path by assisting as many customers as possible.
Well, thank you again for joining us. There's that saying, we can learn from each other. And with so many years of experience, I'm hoping that this episode will bring to light topics that haven't been discussed before. And just to let everybody know that I used to have an account at New Kingston some maybe 45 years ago.
Thank you for the business.
Yes, so let's dive in though. What is the biggest misconception now with people wanting to apply for mortgages? A lot of people think that they can't get a mortgage. So let's go through that because you're in the business of obviously giving out mortgages.
Yes. I think one of the greatest misconception out there is that persons look on and believe that, and it's said, it's a rich people bank. And, when you think about a mortgage process, I consider it to be simple. And why I say simple, because if you decide on the mortgage in question, whichever property you want to finance, once you have the right partner, it can make it a reality. And we have what we call personal banking officers in branches. Persons know them as loans officers, and we have a premium relationship officers as well, where those persons will sit with you and do a total needs assessment to see where you are and as it relates to how you're going to get there. So the first point when you think about getting in this process, you're thinking about things like your down payment. Some institution will give you up to 95% financing. And you have the NHD, as you know, where we do a one-stop shop. You come to Scotiabank, you do everything with us, and we are able to take into consideration the piece that you need to get from the NHD. It could be a dual applicant, and you are talking about that portion along with the portion that you're going to borrow from us. So people on the outside might look on and say, I can't do this mortgage because it's going to be too expensive. Sometimes I will see persons paying rent. And the rent amount, you just maybe need to tweak the rent amount and you'll be paying a mortgage. And so it's just to come in, sit down and have that conversation. We have portfolios where the officer will reach out to someone in their portfolio to come in and have a discussion. We issue what we call a pre-qualified letter, and that now will give you an idea as to what you can afford. And so it's always advisable to sit with your banker. And at Scotiabank, we have, as I said, the qualified team to get you across the line.
Ainsworth, I always say that there's a lot of information that's required in the loan process. Sometimes I say the only thing they don't require from you is your DNA. You want to walk us through why you need so much information. I know it's a relationship you're building,
yes,
a long term, because most of the mortgages is 30 years plus.
Yes, right, yes.
So if you could just guide us through all the documentation, and then of course, those that are salary versus those that are self-employed.
Right, thanks for that question. All right, so at Scotiabank, we aim to make our customers financially better off. And acquiring a property would allow customers to be financially better off. We don't want to give a client a mortgage and then it becomes a burden. So we want to work with our client to ensure that upon acquiring the property, the payments are made seamlessly and they are under no undue pressure. Mm-hmm. So the requirements for a salaried person, a job letter, last 3 months pay slips, that will allow us to ascertain affordability, right? We also ask for self-employed persons, we ask for financial statements, but most importantly, we have a lot of self-employed customers who are earning good income, but they cannot they cannot prove their income to a financial institution. So we work with these clients, we ask that they pass all their income through a bank account so that we can make the necessary assessment and guide them accordingly.
In addition, so we ask for them to do what we call an income verification letter. And that's where an accountant will, look at the numbers, do an assessment to say, this is what your earning is. And that helps with the process as well.
Let's just go back quickly because the realtors, we also ask for the pre-qual letter because we need to know that they have financing in place. And sometimes they see a property, but by the time we ask them to go get qualified, it's sold. So when should they start actually, even before they start looking?
Yes, it's advisable that if you're in the market, you want to know where you stand before. It's like if you're going diving, you can't go without the tank.
Right.
And so if you're going to be going for a mortgage, you need to know what you can afford, that when you go to see the realtor, you say, okay, here's my pre-qualification. And it helps both parties. You don't waste the realtor time. You know, you're looking at a property that is 100 million and I only can afford 50 million. That's a no-no. You want to know where you are, that the proper assessment can be done, that when they come to you, you will be able to say, okay, well, you should be able to manage this. And you know, I want to use an example that happened maybe a couple of years ago, where a client wanted to buy a property and the realtor, just looking at the person, said you can't afford it. Just looking, no assessment was done.
Right.
And the officer for the client called the realtor and said, no, don't do that. And the person is now living in the house.
Yes.
So you want to, as I said, get to that point where the assessment is done, know what you can afford, that you're able to come to.
Yeah, you should never judge a person based on anything.
No.
But another aspect of it is, how many years of work experience would you say somebody needs to have for them before they start doing that pre-qual letter? You said 3 months salary?
Yes.
But do you need a previous history or previous jobs or?
You want to take that?
Right, so I could take that. So we do a thorough assessment. So for some clients, we may need previous history. For other clients, they can start a job and within 6 months, they would have qualified for a mortgage. So each client situation is different. So we do a thorough assessment. One thing that we ask though, is that clients have the mortgage conversation early.
Right.
There are some things associated with a mortgage outside of the monthly payment. We have cost involved.
Yeah.
We have down payment. Clients need to maybe save towards that so that when it's time to acquire the property, they would have had a down payment to afford the mortgage.
And one thing we do for that in terms of down payment, across the branches, we have a savings aspect that we call an automatic savings plan. We call it an ASP, where you sit with an officer and they set that up where an amount is pulled from your, if you want to say, your day-to-day account and put towards the down payment. Right. So over time, you're accumulating, and when you're ready, you'll have that for your down payment.
I know in my generation, we were all given piggybacks. So we were taught early to save.
That's right.
And when you look at the younger generation and you try and convince them to save, what percentage of their salary or their income do you recommend they start saving?
I mean, it depends. I mean, when you really think of someone who is still at home with their parents, they more than likely can save more.
Yes.
So you do a proper assessment. As I said, we do what we call a needs analysis. Sit down with you and you see, okay, this is what you put down for saving, expenses, and dependent on how that pie chart will come out, we'll say, okay, 10% for you this month, or it's going to be 15%. But at the end of the day, the savings component shouldn't be saving for you to take it out for something other than the deposit. Right. So we want to make sure when we do our assessment with you, whatever we're saving, we're saving towards the deposit for the mortgage.
Because that's the key, I think, where everybody needs to start looking down the road that eventually I want to own a property. I need to start saving now. So I want to do a little move on to now those young entrepreneurs that are renting their first office building, but they come to us at Coldwell and they say, I'm ready to buy my office. I want to buy my office. How are the requirements for those young businesses that have started up maybe 2-3 years, have outgrown where they are and they want to know, instead of paying rent, buy their offices, what documentations would they need?
All right, so for the small business person, we're talking about the financials that you heard Ainsworth spoke about recently. So you were talking about getting an overview as to what the income flow is like. And then, once we get those last 2 years financials, it puts us in a better position to see what you're about. And getting the income verification letter is also a key component because you're talking about an accountant, looking down at what your expenses are, your income is like, and this is what the outflow is going to be like. Now that puts us in a better position to say put an application together before they come and see you. And then, once we get that information, we'll be better able now to say, okay, you can afford to purchase this commercial property. Because one of the things we love at Scotiabank is to help someone who was renting to own their own property. When you think about the life cycle, owning a property is one of the largest decisions you will ever make on the retail side or the commercial side. And just imagine someone who has been paying rent over time, it's less expense now. When you think about you're acquiring, and over time you'll own this property, you might own one property, might own multiple properties down the road. And so we want to help our clients to get to that stage.
And Ainsworth, I think multiple properties is where you really begin to create wealth. And I think, once they go through the fear of the first purchase and they build a relationship with you at the bank, do you look at their income and decide to say, well, I need to call them because it's time for them to buy another property?
Right, so that is something that we do at the bank. So that client who would have acquired an initial property, they would now have a track record. We would see their payment history. We already have information about their cash flow, right? So we would call them, sit with them, and show them what is possible. Most times they would have developed equity in the property, which they can take out to acquire a second property. So we show them all that's possible.
Right. I mean, growing up, I used to hear my great-grandfather would buy a property every year. And, there were some major events in history where we had the earthquake in Jamaica, we had the world wars, recently we had the financial collapse of 08, 09, and then we had COVID. And I've noticed where real estate really is becoming more of a cash commodity. Where you used to see people hold on to a family property for 2-3 generations. You're not seeing that anymore. So what I would love to be able to just discuss a little bit on is, if you have more than one property and you do end up in a situation, you could easily dispose of that.
That's correct. Yeah. So, what you mentioned just now, Andrew, when you think about life cycle, and we're talking about generation wealth.
Right.
So your father, as a result of what he did early, is helping you now.
Correct.
And so we want to encourage the persons listening to say, okay, when you acquire one property, your aim is to acquire the next property. Because, as I said, generational wealth, that's what you want for, passing down to your children.
Right.
And so you don't want to think about one. I remember maybe more than 10 years ago, I had a client who had about maybe 4 or 5 properties, and the rental income is what he took care of him.
Right.
And I remember, I'm a sportsman, so I was watching tennis, and I remember seeing him at one of the tennis matches. And so you can just imagine, as I said, more than 10 years ago, 4 properties, maybe he has 10 now. Right. But, we encourage persons, if you purchase one, you want to acquire another. And, the cycle continues as much as you want to own. But as you say, you want to be prudent in your approach, and you're going to take, the right steps to get there. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure whatever decision you're making is one that you're going to enjoy down the road.
I think we all want to leave a legacy.
Behind.
It's important that, you as branch managers, you mentor these the younger generation and guide them. What are some of the biggest mistakes or frequent mistakes that the first-time mortgage applicants make?
Right, so some of the mistakes that they make, one, inaccurate documentation, 2, not having a good credit history. So now we have 2 credit bureaus, and your credit is very important. So paying on time is super important. Persons may qualify for a mortgage in terms of affordability, but when we pull the credit report,
It's a different story.
it's another story. So we ask customers to take care of your credit history, ensure that everything is on point where that is concerned.
So discipline is what
Discipline.
we're talking about here.
And I mentioned self-employed persons before. we ask that they pass all their income through their account so that when it's time for a mortgage to be processed, we can easily assess their income.
The two of you speak so passionately about your clients. It's almost as if you become part of their family. And you know, when I took out some loans to invest in downtown, I think my loan officer at the time may have thought I was a bit crazy, but I had the passion and well, a little vision as well. But I understand also in the importance of the properties as an investment generating enough rental income to service the loans. And when people come to you sometimes, do you require them to say, well, show me how you're going to rent this property? Is there a demand for the property?
Well, not entirely so, but it's, as I said, we offer advice and solutions to them. And so, you know, having experience in the field, it would be good to have that type of conversation because, you know, just like how you have the insight that you say, okay, downtown is where I'm going to be acquiring the property because you might see the vision. Let's use, as we stand now, the roads are better going to St. Thomas. So you might be thinking, okay, I could be doing something along that corridor because in the long run, I'm seeing where booming will take place. I was just talking to Ainsworth earlier when I was looking through one of your magazine and looking at St. Anne. When you think about where it's at now compared to a couple of years ago, there was nothing there. But it's, you know, you see a booming take place. So we would have the conversation because at the end of the day, we don't want persons to be taking out facilities that there's no hope. You want to see the vision, and you know, when we assess and we can give them the advice and the solution, they will now, you know, make the next step.
Right. And Peter, I want to expand on that point as well.
Yeah.
So in everything, risk is associated with it, right? And taking out a mortgage or a loan, there's some amount of risk that may be involved. We cannot eliminate risk, but what we can do, we can mitigate against the risk. So having that fulsome conversation with our clients will allow us to unearth all the things that are possible and assist.
Yeah.
We also get quite a few clients from overseas. Jamaicans wanting to return home or wanting to buy a property. How does that loan process work with their documentation?
It's a similar process. We go at 65 or something.
65
So
or
yeah, so
70% financing.
so they will be coming in with a larger percentage in terms of financing compared to the person who is domiciled here. And it's a similar thing because at the end of the day, we want to do an assessment. So we look at the last three payslip, a job letter, ID, and so we want to be able to, you know, see what their income is like. And from the overseas applicant, we'll pull a credit report. So like for the US and Canada, we do what we call an Equifax report. And that shows us as to where you are in terms of, you know, assets, your liabilities. And so that gives a better picture if you're able to manage this facility in Jamaica.
So do you also manage developers as well when it comes to financing?
When you say manage, you mean like from a standpoint of...
In your branch, or does that go to head office?
So it goes to
Yes,
CCBC, yes.
corporate and commercial banking center.
That's downtown, yeah.
So you want to just share one of your little experiences with a client where they thought it was impossible, but you made it happen. Can you share with us one of your experiences with one of your clients where they thought it was impossible, but you made it happen?
Okay, and this is about 20 years ago. We are still friends. I remember a young miss walked into my office and she told me that, you know, she wanted to purchase a property. Well, she wanted to start a business, but she was a little bit timid as to, you know, how do she goes about this. And I said, okay, all right, give her the guidelines, get it registered and all of that. And she was able to open the business. She opened a pharmacy. And she was just a pharmacist at the time. So we're moving her from pharmacist to pharmacy owner. And then she purchased her own pharmacy. And then right after that, we went to purchase the property. So it was like taking her from different stages. And, you know, she realizing that, you know, we're in banking. We're not just there to give loans, but we are there to provide you with guidance as to how you will move about in terms of acquiring property and, you know, making different stage in terms of moving to the next level. As I said, to this day, you know, we are great friends. And so, you know, I was really proud of her to know that, you know, she'd have taken that step to, you know, acquire the business, and then she's able to purchase properties from the income she gained.
Ainsworth, do you have a story?
Oh yes, I have a story. There's a client who would have gotten notice from the landlord that she needed to vacate the property. So she approached me. When we did the assessment, her debt service ratio was above what we could lend. So it was she cried. You know, it was a challenging situation for her. I told her, don't worry, as the banker, we will look and see what's possible and make it happen. So she had a motor vehicle loan that was taking up an exorbitant amount of her salary. So I encouraged her to sell the motor vehicle, pay out that loan so that she can have disposable income to afford a property. And she did that and she got the property. Shortly thereafter, I gave her another loan to purchase a car, this time with a lower monthly payment. So she had to step down a bit in terms of the type of vehicle, but now she's very happy.
Yeah. Well, you know, we get excited because we see so many opportunities out there. And I think at the end of the day, you kind of ground us. You manage the risk, because at the end of the day, if you were just to lend money free for all without the proper assessment, then a lot of us would not be here today. You know, and that's where we really have to appreciate the relationships that you build, not only with the clients, but also with our clients, because we send them to you for pre-qualification letters, and when they don't succeed, then we know you have their best interests at heart. They need obviously to either up their savings or reduce their expenses, and then come back to us maybe in a couple of years.
Because we don't give a loan to take back the property. Or we don't give a loan to take back a car. It benefits both parties when you're able to service that debt.
Yes.
You're talking about, as you said, 30 years you're paying this more. And things can change, but our assessment at this moment, you need to be in a position to pay. And most persons, when they take a mortgage, they want to see it through because they are enjoying the benefits. No landlord is coming to knock them up. They just know that they are due a payment to the bank each month. And then over time, maybe can decide they want to pay this down at the back end of the mortgage, but we don't give you a facility to take it back. So the aim is to ensure that proper assessment is done to realize the dream.
So Ainsworth, I get the feeling that you've sort of fine-tuned the whole mortgage process now, and it's a lot more transparent and quicker.
Right. Thanks for that question. No, I'm happy to say that Scotiabank is the #1 mortgage bank in Jamaica. We have competitive rates, and we did not achieve that by chance. Over the years, we have developed a seamless process from pre-qualification straight to the funding of the mortgage. So once a customer comes in and we do our assessment and we start that process, it goes right through to the end in a seamless way. Of course, there are some things that may slow or halt the process a bit, but sometimes that's outside of our control, right? But we normally get that rectified quickly and move to completion. So we have an excellent mortgage process at Scotiabank, I must say.
Well, I'm accustomed to great service at Scotiabank, so I endorse what you're saying. Just a couple of final thoughts that each of you may have. If you're speaking to that first-time home buyer, the fear that they have, borrowing money, they could get laid off from a job. There are uncertainties out there. But how would you encourage them to at least come in and at least try and process the pre-qualification letter?
Oh, it is said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And so we want to encourage everyone out there to come in and speak to any of our officers. As I said, we have officers all across Jamaica. We have personal banking officers, we have premium relationship officers who are qualified and able to do a needs assessment, taking you from one stage to the next, looking at what you earn now. You heard the scenario with Ainsworth just now where the person's debt service ratio was out of whack. We will offer you the advice because we know that advice and solution is what is going to make it right for you. Where you're going to sit down with us, we're going to say, okay, you need to change this, you need to start saving more, you need to get rid of this. And if you're able to listen to your advisors, just like how you listen to a doctor, where the doctor is going to tell you to change your diet to make you better. It's the same way you need to think of your banker as your financial doctor. Listen to us and we'll take you through the stages.
Excellent.
Acquiring a property is the single most important investment an individual can make. What I say to my customers, please speak to your financial advisor. The conversation reacquiring a property does not start when you have the immediate need. It starts long before. So come in, speak to an advisor today.
How would you process their eligibility to get a loan? I know that's a tough question.
It is a tough one, and I'll tell you why. So whenever we are going to do an assessment, the main component for us granting that facility is to determine your ability to pay. So if you do have a scenario where it's 3 months contract, for argument's sake, we need to be assured that something else is coming down the road, because you're going to be placed in a bind as well. Because if you're going to take a facility and after 3 months you're not able to service it, then we're going to be in a position that you're going to, more than likely, you're going to have to give up that property. And so the best bet is to acquire in terms of the savings component, or have multiple contracts that you say, okay, I'm coming out of this one, but I'm going to go into this one. Or you have contracts significant that even the injection piece is significant. So the piece from the bank is small. So, you know, we need to be able to look at, okay, after 3 months of this contract, what happens next? So the conversation is a key piece. We're going to have the conversation with you, and you're going to tell us as well to say, after 3 months, how will you pay this?
Yeah,
If you're not able to, then we're going to have a chat.
That's so true, because I'm sure with Ainsworth, with some of your commercial loans, you require them to put aside maybe 3 or to 6 months rental income in case the tenant leaves. Right. So that funds, those funds are then used to pay the mortgage during that period of vacancy.
Right. And it's a very good question, because we want all clients to come in and talk to us. Don't say that, boy, I don't think I qualify. Talk to us. So persons whose income is what I call seasonal, we would look at a longer period in terms of the assessment. So instead of looking at 6 months income, we may look at 2 years. And we would give conditions as well if the person shows the ability to repay. So we may ask for the mortgage to be prepaid by 2-3 months, just to cover the period when you have a downtime. So there are conditions that we can apply. As I said before, risk is there in everything. Sure. It's how you mitigate against those risks. And at the end of the day, if you don't qualify, we are not going to put you in a position that you cannot afford. But once there's an opportunity for us to help, we will help. Because at Scotiabank, we assist you to discover what's possible.
Risk is not avoided, it is structured. For everything that you do as it relates to finance, risk is involved. We put measures in place to mitigate against risk. So we encourage everyone, despite whatever risk is there, have a conversation with your advisor and let us help you to realize your dreams.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I trust this was an informative session for our viewers. I look forward to having you back, and I'm hoping that one day you'll be signing one of my mortgage facilities.
It was my pleasure being here. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ainsworth, pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.